Our next guest has brought plenty of characters from the comic books page to the screen, appearing in multiple DC roles as well as being an MCU regular. But lately, he's been writing some comics of his own. Here to tell us about the monster-hunting Count Crowley, here's David Dastmalchian. Welcome to the IGN balcony.
Hey, it's great to be here. This is amazing. This is really amazing.
Pretty good view out here.
Pretty amazing.
Not too hot. Weather's
no,
okay.
The weather's
today?
perfect, and it's like, this is geek nirvana. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here.
Really nice to be back after a few years off.
It is.
So, Count Crowley is coming back for Volume 2.
Yes.
And this time, Jerry Bartman is not a reluctant midnight monster hunter. She's an amateur midnight monster hunter.
Yes.
Tell us about this big change for Volume 2.
Well, so she was reluctant in Volume 1. She was absolutely like, I have no interest in this. I have no interest in recovery, because she's also an alcoholic. I have no interest in connecting with my family, because she hates them all. I have no interest in fighting monsters, because now she's learned that monsters are real. Now we've gotten into the next phase of the story, where Jerry's realized that if she doesn't do this, no one is going to do it, and her family, who she does love, even though they have a lot of conflict, are going to be threatened by this. So she has to figure out not only how to take care of herself, but how to fight the monsters on the outside that are creeping in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How far down the road have you planned? Is she eventually, is she going to be a master
I
monster
see Jerry
hunter?
all the way going through mediocre monster hunter to master monster hunter to, you know, you have to reinvent the monster hunter. She's going to have to retrain at some point. There's a whole lot of iterations, but what's most important, like us as human beings, every time you think you've learned everything there is to know about a certain subject, and whether that is how you believe things about your own mental health or politics or whatever, as soon as you're locked into something, like this is the only way this works, you're in danger. And Jerry's going to have to learn that lesson the hard way, because it's always about digging back in and learning new things about both herself and the way she can combat the forces that are working against her.
Is there a main villain for Volume 2?
For Volume 2, there's two main monsters, I will say, and this goes back to a theme that's really important to me. There are good monsters, there are bad monsters. I think that's true in real world, too. Some monsters we just want to destroy and throw away, and some we really need to, like, invest in and go, is there some way we can bring you back? So there's a werewolf who happens to be in her AA group, named Steven, who Jerry's going to try and figure out how to help cure, if that's even possible. There is a vampire, though, who has shown up, who doesn't seem very redeemable at this point in the story, at least. So we'll have to see what happens. But there's the main bad guy, her main villain at this point, is a very stunning vampire who's flown in from New York.
What or who inspired this comic book?
When I was a kid in Kansas, where I grew up, I used to watch the Crematia Mortem Friday Nightmare, which was like our late night horror host. And Crematia was this really funny, acerbic, tough woman who introduced me to some of my favorite monsters through the classic horror films. She was a huge inspiration on this, as were the women in my life who I've seen face real monsters in the real world. Sometimes the monsters that actually exist amongst us aren't the ones with hair all over their bodies or giant fangs or drooling. They are the people who abuse power in places like the workspace, just in general in society. And so I really took a lot of inspiration in seeing how people were battling both the demons outside of them and the ones within. For me personally, I'm 20 years now clean and sober. I was a heroin addict and an alcoholic, and I've got 20 years now. And that battle is something that I really wanted to infuse into this story, because to me, those are life and death circumstances that I can now use the metaphor of monsters to take to the next level.
David, I am also from Kansas.
Where?
Olathe.
You're kidding me!
Olathe, Kansas, yeah.
I lived in Lenexa at Cuvier Road. I worked at the Oak Park Mall when I was in high school.
That's where we hung out.
That's amazing!
Yeah.
Wow.
I had no idea, but I'm not aware of this late night TV host. And I was born in '78, as you can see from my shirt. So like, in the late 80s, I'd be like 10,
Cremation
11,
Mortem was
12.
on TV 41, the Fox affiliate at that time. Now 41, I believe, is NBC. But at that time, Cremation Mortem every Friday night hosted Crematia's Friday Nightmare, and I would sneak downstairs and watch it. She was on for almost 10 years.
Yeah, I can't believe I missed it.
And now
like
she lives in, Roberta Solomon, who was Cremation Mortem, is a voiceover artist who lives in Portland.
Wow.
And we've become friends.
Amazing.
Yeah, and she knows all about the comic book, and I've been able to thank her for the influence that she had on me.
That's so cool.
The Edge of Hell?
Oh yeah,
That's the Kansas City haunted house situation is just like off the hook. In fact, we should do a trip back to Casey. Every place I go in the world, no one can touch the Kansas City haunted houses. We got to go back, get some barbecue, and go to Clint's Comics. Which was, I got to go back and do a signing there for Count Crowley. They had all the Count Crowleys at Clint's, where I grew up buying comics. Oh, dude.
It's awesome. I had no idea. We've got a connection now.
Oh, yeah, we do.
So we're here at Comic-Con. This is where many comics are brought to life in movies and TV shows. Do you have, aspirations to adapt Count Crowley for the screen?
They say dream as big as you possibly can, right? I'm reaching for the stars with this story. I think that Jerry's Journey would make a really wonderful translation into something shot cinematically. There's so much kindred connective tissue between the way comic books work and the way film and television works. I dream of this. I'm putting it out there today with IGN.
Energy, yeah.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
In front of Comic-Con, San Diego, the world, and all of you watching. That's my dream and that's my hope. But if all I get to do is where we've gotten 2 volumes of a comic book that people can buy at a comic book shop, dude, I'm a kid from Kansas who has a comic book that's on the shelves of comic shops around the world. Like I'm very grateful.
It's already very cool.
It is.
You've played many roles in comic book movies and shows, The Dark Knight, Ant-Man movies, The Flash, of course, Polka Dot Man,
Polka Dot Man,
Suicide
yes.
Squad. How has playing these roles helped you make your own comic book?
It's because you know what? The times that it really works, the times that the director, the writer have created something that is really meaningful and really lands with their audience, and that ranges from all the incredible artists I've worked with, from Christopher Nolan to Peyton Reed to James Gunn and so many more. In adapting comic books, you can't just go, well, the flashy part of them is what's cool. The superpower is the thing that matters, because it's not. It's the story that's going on within. It's the character and their relationship to the other characters in the story and the journey that they're on. So without all of that, nobody really cares how flashy the pages might look. So I'm grateful that I've continued to learn that lesson from great storytellers like James and Nolan and Peyton and all these other amazing artists that I get to be influenced by.
You've played, several roles already. Are there any other comic book roles you still would like to play?
Come on, man. Like, really? Okay, so he's giving us the 1-minute signal here. I tell you, I could go on all day, but if I had to pick just one character who I think I would dream of playing someday, it would probably be Michael Morbius. I would love a chance to be a vampire who is filled with conflict and who understands the confluence of both science and the unknown. I think we're in a dangerous time right now where science is being maligned, but also where people who have any belief in something beyond that which is known are also being maligned. And I love that Morbius is able to bring that together and turn all of his darkness into something positive, and he's able to battle evil.
Well, David, I hope we get to see your version of Morbius someday. Thank you so much for coming by the IGN balcony here.
Thanks, man.
Count Crowley's 2nd volume is just wrapping up. You can find the newest issues at your local comic shop or your favorite comics app. Until then, stick with IGN for all your Comic-Con needs. Thanks for watching.